We're about to start the 2NR. They're gonna go for the security K.
Okay, now it's time. The order is going to be K and then K. Is everyone good? You are voting nay because they conceded that predictions was failed, which means that there's no risk of the affirmative, and we win that threats are entirely fake. I'm gonna go on the predictions fail. None of their impacts have been proven true since the 1AR straight conceded the Bleicher evidence means that predictions fail. Bleicher indicates that predictions do not take changing international relationships into account. That killed agencies using IR prediction assumes that policies predominated makes it impossible for political agencies on people to overcome theory, even if the 2AR explains specificity of their scenarios. They have made a reason why their model prediction of reliance of IR theory is true. No new 2AR arguments because skews next strategy. I'm basing my strategy off that they have no predictions and that their threats are entirely false. I am going for the debate as a question of endorsing the 1AC the whole versus the alternative as a competing policy strategies. Our links are yes or no about the plan and what their representation itself and how it gets carried out. Our links are straight through to the app means that there's no external means that the our external impact is a tiebreaker. Often says that security policies guarantee hypermilitarization due to the fear of other causes war, which outweighs. But anyways, we solve the root cause of war. The only reason that war has escalated is because NATO has securitized. I gave you examples in the 2NC which were not answered means that we solve the root cause of any of their war impacts that will be extended. I'm going for the alternative full solvency. I told you in the 2NC do not let them make a shift. I'm going that the alternative has no deficits and all I need to win is no chance that the app can win any of the predictions they make. That means that you are voting the 100% alternative solvency. We have impacts that outweigh the apps, but no matter what, we still solve the impacts, which was the root cause debate that I did above. But first, the only winnable two-way option here is framework, but the judges are critical intellectual taking the epistemological underpinnings of the 1AC prefer this voting next. The only way to resolve our impacts, you have to vote for the best scholarship, epistemology, and ontology are prior questions. You should not focus on one policy, but rather we should evaluate the process of formulating these policies. Epistemological assumptions determine what we think the problem is and how we find the solution. This comes before the question of the alternative of the perps. The ballot is a referendum on their knowledge production. We were the only team out of the rebuttals that give you who to vote for, but their framework affirmatives guarantees error applications means that their model of debate is bad. That proves that we have the best scholarly offense and only a radical break from dominant paradigms. Avoid a self-fulfilling prophecy. The debate is not only the root registry. The only thing we take away from this round, we want a dissent to the knowledge reduction that outweighs the hypothetical consequences of the plan. I told you that plan focuses on bad. It makes offensive language and flawed reps and no resolved words or forms in the action means that the discourse is more important than plans like big frameworks. It's key to check out bias and choose the voices of the debate. It makes it more perceptive, no risk of the offense. The affirmative should be ready to defend the 1AC means that the intent is highly predictable, fairness and clash. Education outweighs and discourse analysis of prerequisites understand potential effectiveness. Then they said you lose what's not what the right line is. You need to prove that the 1AC threats that you presented are real, which you didn't. They said it turns offense, but it doesn't because their interval allows for the interval is like the K is cheating, which is definitely not the model we support. They defend the representation of the 1AC. They need a win that the plan is good. Then they said then for the reps, don't shape the reality. Or I'll do the link debate here. I'm going for the miscalculate China link because the fear of miscalculation predominantly makes it a miscalc inevitable. Accidents will only happen when we assume that they will. There's no idea when miscalc will actually happen in the United States because it feels that they have to act first. Only the alternative solve, and then the China link. China's right discourse makes more inevitable the idea that we can objectively know if China ignores the way that the U.S. imagines and constructs China as the enemy. We only think of China's threat, so we don't fit into the U.S. in order. They said that a reps of shape reality, but the discourse of level discourse and evaluative rhetoric as a prerequisite to policy making itself. We only generate an agency as individuals of entities because of discourse and strategy, specifically how the app portrays their impacts in the world. Then they said that risk zero policy failure, but it's not about the laws, about how the app needs to do something. The plan is not this day. Then on the case, I'm going for the status quo. Solve NATO should already solve 2019 space policies. 2020 space audit center highlights the article 5 for deterrence posture. No escalation. The status quo means that it's working. Strategic space institute already approved 6.7 billion years. So not kinetic escalation. The myth false assumptions about adversities. No retail or escalation of satellite escalation. The myth for the Cold War. The retail list is 0%. No ISR escalation because NATO lost over ISR over Ukraine. And the air and the spoofing is already done because hundreds of times when it's happened.
Okay. We have 5:24 starting now. Okay, I'm going for Vanishu. She just dropped it.
Mm-hmm. Jesus Christ, I hate these people.
What?
Card doc.
Can you start assembling that?
Yeah.
Just like 2 AC, 1 AC cards. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I just realized I sent the wrong 2NC file. Like the cards I read from the 2NC, I
Yeah,
sent you the
shut
2NC from
up.
last round.
Okay.
I was scrolling, I don't care.
I'll send them all out right now.
Okay, case K. Is everyone good? Awesome.
Oh wait, they need a second.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I think they're good now. Yeah.
All right, cool. The 2NR dropped an advantage. They just went for decay always and turns the case and dropped an entire extinction level scenario. This is an easy AF ballot because you should not evaluate securitization when they've not applied the links to it specifically, but also drop this advantage, solves the terminal impact to the K via future diplomatic engagement, but that will be on the K proper. Even if you think there was a status quo solves warrant, there wasn't. There was about advantage one, but I'll answer it here. The status quo does not solve because the 1AR specifically explained the key internal link is adversary involvement because only the AF can bring both adversaries and allies to the negotiating table on how to create effective cyberspace terms or status quo projects do not do. You should read their evidence if you're not sure, but we're kicking advantage one because non-kinetic escalation doesn't take out advantage two because advantage two is just not cyber, nor is broadly, but you're voting AF on this debate on extremely high risk of case impacts on scenario two by creating space diplomacy. We agree there are issues with status quo space policy that currently space laws are ineffective, non-enforceable. Thus, Guvucci 21, they're slow in action, limit authority, bogged down by political deadlock, which creates a recipe for disaster impending in the future. But the use of NATO, the U.S. space policy by the plane resolves the future conflict because they concede the Epstein 22 evidence to play the supplement in the U.S. space policy with diplomats creates an effective framework for allied engagement and adversarial. Please make it so the DOS can train space experts that can bring people to the negotiating table, setting rules for engagement in space on how we will engage cyber in a peaceful way and can stake out territory in space. And they've also dropped the UNOL 19 evidence NATO communication creates effective norms for that piece in the future. This should be considered strong link defense because we have a hyper-contextual scenario with use of NATO securitization is good. Much better their vacuous links where they did zero work applying the second advantage. You should not do that for them. But they've also dropped the interminable impact scenario that without respect to states nor to risking conflict. That's Robotsy 22 that international allied space diplomacy and both protect U.S. interests and avert escalatory power competition with China. The power competition in space goes nuclear, but diplomacy solves it via reassurance and dialogues or Kafura 22 evidence is not just China. The scenario is not just China is mean and evil. We're saying China wants to stake out their territory in space. That's fine and well, but we have to have a peaceful mechanism to do that. The AF allows China to take their claims to space of peace, like everyone knows whose turf is who. Gut check the 2NR if a K always the case, but did no impact calculus. Repeating buzzwords doesn't count. Advantage two outweighs the links to Advantage 1 because there's no actual scenario for conflicts we create in the future, and there's no causal link between the referee in one round it didn't go for in their future scholarship. In their future conflict scenarios, you cannot explain it for them. They didn't extend a future conflict scenario. You can cross-apply that to the framework flow of scholarship justification, but also they dropped the uniqueness claim for the app. The space is being fractured now. Conflict is coming now. As new powers enter space, we solve it quickly and immediately by staking out norms for cyber engagement in space the best. The all takes 20 years to solve whether you grant them debate-level research impacts or real-world ones. Those structures that norms take a long time to change. Those space ones don't, because legally binding treaties can be established by the app for winning a sequencing claim. They say predictions fail, but winning can see this for winning or one scenario is true, which is all we need to win the debate. They've lost the app. Threat is real, so they lose the debate according to the 2N. They went for a cool FYI about an IR that has no relevance to the app-specific scenario. That has no relevance to app-specific scenario, and it's not a prediction of winning 100% probability. They say endless wars, all silence. They do not extend an endless war actual scenario. They're repeating a vacuous buzzword, but zero explanation of how they solve case. They don't create a diplomatic channel, does not spill over, and then also not spill over out of the debate round anyways, but also they dropped it to all causes. There's a lot of all causes to representations and securitization, but I'll do that later. All the like media, government, etc. They all can't overcome it because there's inevitable involvement in securitization and IR and politics. You can also cross by the all causes predictions fail. It takes it out because it means alternative doesn't resolve it, but also Advantage 2 solves in the war by creating peaceful space stars for the future on framework proper. The role of the balance to evaluate desirability, inflexibility, and scope and solvency. We in framework should put out because they all cannot create necessary diplomacy, nor can it quickly resolve securitization. They don't solve the impacts nor the links. Otherwise, they lower the burdens for you link. You lose frameworks, utopian terms that are not opportunity, a cause that excludes germane nuance or well-developed strategy. The impact is competitive clash. Class only possible if too well precise to interrogate the desirability of the app includes testing and rendered topic and lay research analytical skills useless. They assume precedent setting and overinvest. The ballot is a vehicle for societal transformation, but does not assume how insular debate is. They drop that their standard for competition is arbitrary and non-viable for debate. They lose the framework portion because there's no way for a judge a season long to evaluate representations versus consequences. Then we determine at what point they critiqued enough of the 180's representation to disprove the plan. The 2NC cross explanation was just not there. It's a bad standard because occasions obviously saying now we critiqued enough. It's more, but even none of those are intrinsic to the app and don't disprove it's a bad idea. Arbitrarily putting reps of consequence creates shallow debates and concede our answers to plan focus bad and clash reps. He said it's possible for K's to disprove consequence of the plan, but those K's was to win under our model. Teams just have to win contextual links, which they have not done. There's zero work for error of replication. You shouldn't do that for them. They say, but also the reps are a bad point in clash. They don't shape reality. They have conceded that there are way too many all causes. There are way too many all causes to the media, government, other teams, other debate rounds, etc. are all causes to reality. Amount of more than reps in a single 180 debate where there's no impact to their K because securitization in a single round could not be literally correlated with the real violence claim if they don't have a link. But Advantage 2 solves your policy flows, they don't have a real impact. They drop that weak green eye space creating towards conflict with the app solves up by creating non-NATO no exchange table for allies and average. They can add peaceful norms in the future and avoid that sort of conflict on the link debate. They did not apply any of these. Advantage 2 don't do the work for them. There's no examples of reps. Advantage 2 is not miscalculated to space power in true. We don't think China is evil. They just want to be. They just want to exist in space. That's fine, but we need a peaceful way to do it. Good debate. Can we see the card?
Yeah, it's just like all the authors you mentioned in the 2AR, plus like securitization good cards from the 2AC.
I don't really need that.
The next card off was set up.
Yeah, I would just